In the dark shadows, in the white cold, fearlessly we search for knowledge new and old. We drink the strong spirits and read the ancient tomes. The order of the Abracast. We are the brave and the bold. The Abracast. Occult, history, conspiracy, and violence.
Welcome to the Abracast. I'm your host, John Towers. We are recording here far below, subterranean bunker underneath the Stigmata Studios, independent comic book company. The steel buckle of the Rust Belt. What is turning out to be ground zero for the fall of Western civilization. And that's kind of what we're going to be talking about this evening. We're going to take a break on the biblical prophecy. This is a Wednesday show, so I can kind of do what I want, you know what I mean? And then we're going to start talking about eclipses. So we get right back on track. But wanted just to talk about, we've been talking about like the end of Western civilization, and then we started talking about some of the reasons it's so fucking cool, to quote Jim Morrison, the West is the best. The West is the best. Maybe I shouldn't have used that quote, because the rest of it is get here and we'll do the rest. So, I have the mother's milk here. I got my Jin Jihad mixed up. And we're going to be talking about Pittsburgh ground zero. So Pittsburgh, I don't have any of the stats in front of me. It's a smaller big city or a medium-sized city. We're going to learn a lot about it going forward. So a lot of these things I know, and just I can feel in my bones because I live here. I can see the goddamn city from my window. Like the first thing we're going to be talking about are homeless encampments. So, I don't know if that's what we're supposed to call them. Places where people who are experiencing homelessness sleep. I.e., there's like 7 or 10 fucking places all around the city that all of a sudden all these grungy tents and shit are popped up, and now you got to worry about all that. You got to worry about getting from point A to point B, and you're drawing a crowd. It's like a zombie movie. They're all change. If you're lucky, it's like one of the slow zombie movies. All right, so this is coming from one of our local newspapers here called the Tribune Review, I guess. I don't know. I cannot believe people still fucking read newspapers. So this is it's by a guy named Justin Levucci. There's nowhere to go. Pittsburgh clears out the homeless camps. 4 homeless Pittsburghers stood Tuesday afternoon near tents at the wedge of land where Grant Street meets Fort Pitt Boulevard and said they didn't know what comes next. When was this written? November 7th. Yeah. Well, they didn't tear it down. I've been by here, and it's just recently, and all this shit's still here. City officials announced last week that they were tearing down downtown homeless encampment and posted warning signs ordering those living on First Avenue to the west of Grant Street to vacate. Outreach workers had given, quote, credible offers of housing, unquote, to everyone living in the encampments, said Maria Montano, a spokesperson for Mayor Ed Gainey. So we're going to be talking a lot about another mayor later. That mayor's name is Bill Peduto. He's a dope. Anyhow, so our new mayor is Ed Gainey. Downtown encampment mere feet from the site that officials were working to clear. Several homeless men on Tuesday said that they were told to relocate but received no offers of help or housing. The men asked not to be named. All the shelters are full. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing set up. One of the individuals, a man of his 40s, said to be living for a year along Grant Avenue in the Mon Wharf parking lot. There's no help and we have no clue what to do. So this is a tragic story. And these people, so when I was growing up, my formative years, as they say, you just assumed that there was something wrong with a homeless person. They had some kind of mental thing, addiction, something along those lines, some sort of insurmountable problem. But nowadays, it's not like that at all. The divide is here. The divide, the middle class is gone. The divide is here. I recently saw a clip of Tim Pool talking about this, and he's talking about how you have people who can't afford rent or food and groceries and their fucking home insurance. Fucking goddamn it. And then you go to a casino and there's a guy dropping $5,000 like it's nothing. The divide is here. Not only is the divide here, we're going to be talking about this later, but the divide is here. Lawlessness is here. There's no one to help you, and you're not even be able to help yourself. That's the whole show. If you're looking for a positive, upbeat program, go watch something. Go listen to something else. This one is rough. You will own nothing. You're going to be happy. These guys don't own anything, and they're not so happy about it. Homelessness is increasing in Allegheny County. As of May, there were about 900 homeless people living in Allegheny County, an estimated 150 of them unsheltered, according to the Allegheny Department, the Allegheny County, what is this? Department of Human Service officials. Data from February 2022 showed that the county had about 880 homeless, where last winter we had about 105 were unsheltered. Officials from Second Avenue Commons, a year-round downtown shelter that way to go, Trib, that is filled to capacity soon after it opened last year, did not respond Tuesday afternoon to a requested comment. Tents that have been removed by midday Tuesday from parts of First Avenue nearby at PNC First Side Center office building. Workers on their lunch break chatted on cell phones around 2:30. 3 tents remained along Grant Street between First Avenue and Fort Pitt Boulevard. 4 more were located on the grassy wedge. Where was JFK? On the one of the homeless men had said officials need to do more to address homeless individuals' underlying problems with drug addiction and their struggles to find affordable housing. The man, who appeared to be in his 30s, kept busy Tuesday afternoon by filling black trash bags with discarded food items and empty soda bottles, and he said he plans to sleep Tuesday night at Point State Park. They just move you along and put you in another spot, he said. I don't like that they were judged by how. I don't like that they that we are judged by how we live, we are still human. A second man said he found a place to stay but was checking on his brother. The two had lost their mother during a drug overdose, and he declined to elaborate. Officials are moving problems instead of addressing them. Like I said, this place is back already from November. I have another article pulled up here. I don't think it's going to let me read it though, and I'm not registering. As foreclosures risks rise, nearly half of downtown Pittsburgh office space will be empty in 4 years. So that was like, I kind of feel like, hey, you did that to yourself with all your crazy COVID bullshit, but now they're dealing with the fact that all that tax revenue is going away. It's going away. There's fucking potholes fucking everywhere. There's no cops to be found. But yet my taxes are going up. These real estate, commercial real estate taxes are going down. So I'm not going to register to the fucking Post-Gazette to read this article. So here, on to the next one. This is from WTAE.com, local news. A tax break proposed to encourage conversions of downtown Pittsburgh office buildings to residential. This is weird. In my neighborhood, there's actually it's not a commercial location, obviously, but it's a old middle school, I think, or maybe even an elementary school that they turn into condos. They look wonderful from the outside. But this is how they're trying to answer the tax question. Downtown Pittsburgh, rising office vacancies are dropping. Property tax revenues are creating a looming financial crisis for the city government. Downtown is in serious financial trouble after the COVID-19 pandemic. The demands for commercial office space have dropped significantly. Councilman Bobby Wilson, who has proposed addressing this problem because downtown right now is in crisis and is projected to get worse. More downtown office owners are winning the challenges of their property tax assessment. That trend is expected to grow, which would bring a body blow of lower tax revenues for the city, which get a quarter of the real estate tax revenue from downtown. Wilson is proposing legislation to give tax breaks to those who convert office space into residential space. It will be introduced this week. Nearly 38% of the office space stands vacant. 38% already. And the number is projected to get worse. Upwards of almost 50% of the space will be vacant by 2028. Councilwoman Erika Strausberg said, "We as a city cannot afford to let downtown fail permanently. Diminished tax revenues from our central business district would severely restrict the quality and frequency of the services we provide in all of our 90 neighborhoods." Make a little note of that. The proposed expanded 10-year tax break or abatement would be on the added value of the converted properties. So I'd wager to say if this is happening here, it's happening in other middle-sized cities, especially those who embraced BLM and defund the police as fucking hardcore as Pittsburghers did. Because that is going to tie, the defund the police thing specifically is going to tie into this. It's going to be the bow. Well, not really the bow. Like the shitty tape that you put while you're to hold the wrapping paper while you try to wrestle the bow. We need a variety of tools in our toolbox to be able to revitalize downtown and support conversions of commercial property to fit the needs for the future. Stephanie Pashman, CEO of Allegheny Conference on the Community Development. For our employees, our residents, our neighborhoods, and our visitors, it is a vital, not just to the vibrancy of Pittsburgh, but to our greater region. Wilson has business and labor leaders lining up on the same side in support of this proposal. The downtown is in trouble. It's being overrun by zombies looking for quarters. We can't run from that. The long-term plan shows the commitment from the men and women and the leaders up on this stage, said Darren Kelly, president of Allegheny Fiat Central Labor Council. Sam Williamson, I don't know, they're going to pack these buildings with who? Who's going to want to live downtown? I mean, there's no work down there. Like, factory workers aren't going to live downtown. There's no fucking factories in Pittsburgh anymore. Where are they going to... You're going to have a bunch of security guards living down there, because then they're just going to go and watch these empty fucking buildings all day long. Well, you're going to have young professionals living there? What are they going to be professionals at? The buildings are fucking empty. I don't know what they're thinking. They might as well just turn them into giant fucking like putt-putt golf courses or something. What we're trying to do here is a tax abatement for people who are interested in investing in downtown, basically saving downtown and maintaining its tax base. Jeremy Waldrop, president and CEO Pittsburgh Downtown Partnership, said this program will play a pivotal role in the continued economic recovery while building a more vibrant and residential community in downtown Pittsburgh. You know what this reminds me of? It reminds me of Judge Dredd. Not the Sylvester Stallone movie, and not even the newer one. I'm talking about the comic books, man, where it's really at. The OG 2000 AD. They all lived in these mega cities. And this is, you hear talk about, really the problem nowadays are people that live in the country. Rural white rage, I heard someone say the other day. We got to get those people out of the country, move them into the city to live in these fucking shitty apartment buildings. We got to just tighten them all up, just like Megacity One. Megacity One, here we go. The goal right now is to probably go from 7,000 residents living in downtown to 15. They're going to more than double it, they think. There are already several projects ready to go that need to pencil out their numbers for the city of Pittsburgh to be a partner in all of that. The 44-story golf tower on 7th Avenue is one office building site looking for partial conversion into residential uses. I'm actually quite familiar with the golf tower, and I could have swore that there are already apartments in there. Parts of at least one lobby look pretty residential. It looks like Mr. Pitt's lobby. You know what I'm talking about. Do you know what I'm talking about? That might be an old reference. I don't know. The plan is definitely to convert to a hotel and apartments, but the numbers of each are still in flux. Larry Walsh, Chief Operating Officer, Principal of Rugby Realty Company, responded to Pittsburgh Action News 4 via email, quote, "In fact, without the passage of today's proposed legislation, the project would be put on indefinite hold and we would start the process of emptying the building. As of today, the building is approximately 50% occupied." Olga George, Mayor Ed Gainey's press secretary, emailed this statement on behalf of the Gainey administration. While no tool is the answer, the administration is supportive of bringing additional resources to bear and further the stabilization and growth of downtown Pittsburgh. The further stabilization and growth of downtown Pittsburgh. We just said that it's not growing. They're actually taking drastic measures to try to make it grow. It's not going to work. Flash. Well, I mean, obviously, at some point it's going to work. They're going to force people to move down there somehow. but the further stabilization. We're going to talk about this stabilization here in a little bit. And growth of downtown Pittsburgh. Our work with the Allegheny Conference to convene a broad base of downtown stakeholders to develop a holistic action plan that ensures we build a welcoming, safe, and thriving downtown is evidence of this. Additionally, we are thankful to the URA and the partnership with the Allegheny County and Pittsburgh Public Schools to adopt a tax abatement program for downtown across these three taxing bodies. We look forward to working with the Councilman Wilson and of all the city councilmen on improvements that can be made to the city's tax abatement for downtown to ensure we are building a Pittsburgh for all. All right, so let's talk about that stylization. This is joinaramerica.com. I've never read this website before, so we're in it together. Safer streets, brighter futures. A new report shows alarming rise in the crime in Pittsburgh. This was posted on October 18th, 23, so not so long ago. This is going to be October 8th, 2023. Is that October 18th, 2023? This is going to be the good old days here in a year. This article is going to be the good old days. This is going to be when Pittsburgh was a utopia. That's what they'll say anyways. I'm down for it. Down for dystopia. No, how would I say it? Oh, another Seinfeld reference. I encourage intruders. Our America's new Crime and Safety Impact Report shows an alarming rise in crime in Pittsburgh during the major cities chief association from 2021 to 2022. Pittsburgh saw an increase in just homicides, rapes, and robberies. As of mid-2023, the MCCA also reports a year-over-year increase in, just rapes, robberies, and aggravated assaults in Pittsburgh. Citizens are rightfully concerned. In December 2022, downtown Pittsburgh business owners complained to the mayor's office. The Pittsburgh Post-Gazette covered the event, writing, "Downtown is a bit on edge these days. Frustrations over shootings, fighting, panhandling, open drug dealing boiled over during a recent meeting between downtown business owners and the merchants and top officials within Mayor Ed Gainey's administration. Some worried about losing commercial or residential tenants. If the situation does not change, how can they cajole workers back to the office given anxiety about safety? Another fretted about losing businesses or restaurants. But many of those attended the meetings and others who didn't insist the city leadership isn't doing enough, particularly to address issues like aggressive panhandling, fighting, unruly youths. We all know what that is a secret code for, and loitering that don't show up in crime stats. From 2020 to 2021, Pittsburgh saw a 46% rise in shootings. What's the big deal? 46 rise in shootings that left people injured, and a similar percentage jump in homicides. While much of the nation has experienced dramatic increase in murders and other violent crimes, AP News reported in September 2021, Pittsburgh has seen a 46% rise in shootings that left people injured, and similar percentage jump in homicides over the same time last year. Why are you repeating yourself? Perhaps the most alarming statistic to neighborhood activists is the number of young people, just dying from bullets. Nearly 1/3 of the city's 41 homicide victims were teens. I didn't want to make it sound like I was laughing at that. I apologize. I just was laughing at how they said that the young people were dying from bullets. That just seems like a really weird way of saying they got shot. You know what I mean? They're not dying. They're dying from bullets. Okay. In 2022, Pittsburgh reached 71 homicides. It is the highest number in a decade. This year, Pittsburgh has seen a record-breaking number of homicides. On Monday, Pittsburgh police responded to a Family Dollar on Brighton Road, right down the street from me. I'm giving you guys all tactical information so you can find my house. I've mentioned like 4 things this episode. If you think you got it, let me know. I'd be interested. Okay, where was I? Is the highest has been in a decade. 8 years ago, according to crime data online, there were 70 homicides within the city, and between 2010 and Thursday, there have been 700. 700! According to the most up-to-date data from the police, 60% of the offenders involved in homicides this year were between 15 and 24. So we don't need to ban guns. We just need to ban idiot kids. More than 50% of the victims were within that same age group. Clearly something needs to change. Our America National Director Gabriel Nadels released the following statement. In our America Crime and Safety Impact Report demonstrates that we have known for years crime has gotten significantly worse since before COVID-19. You're burying the lead. Let me editorialize. In our America Crime and Safety Impact Report demonstrates that we've known for years crime has gotten significantly worse since everyone wanted to defund the police. Not only in places like New York and Los Angeles, but in smaller profile cities like Tucson, Arizona, Henderson, Nevada, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. With this report, Our America seeks to show the public that although the headlines on crime might be dominated by large cities, it's happening everywhere. High crime rates make considerably more difficult for people to realize the American dream. Sadly, minority communities in particular are the hardest hit by crime rates since they tend to disproportionately suffer from crime as it is. It's incumbent on the state and local governments to establish and to uphold safe communities for families and businesses to succeed. We hope that this report and its recommended solutions can help foster safer streets, brighter futures for America and across the country. This next article is from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, if it lets me keep going. And so the last one about the rising crime jump was from November. Okay, this was published Sunday, March 24th, 2024. 2 days ago, 3 days ago, as you're listening to this, perhaps. Changes in the staffing structure in the Pittsburgh police are drawing mixed reactions. Chief Larry Scriato, whatever, says the reorganization is data-driven. The others say results may be, quote, disastrous, unquote. Now let me, dear listener, let me read this to you, and you tell me where you fall on this. The staffing changes are, is the reorganization, is it just good old-fashioned, police work, data-driven, or does it sound like it's disastrous? I can't even believe this is a thing. So New York's having its own problems with everyone leaving the commercial properties. They're having a problem with illegal immigrants coming in and being lodged because New York is some sort of right to house state or something. I was reading about it. It seems crazy. Like if you just show up and you say, I need someplace to stay, the city is obligated to give you a place to stay? I'm like, oh, whatever. Whatever. But, so we don't, I mean, we are having an illegal, well, I can't even say that. We're having I've started down a path. I want to turn back. I'm going to say, we have Spanish-speaking, military-aged men that apparently cannot speak English or will not speak English, but they're everywhere. And if you live in Pittsburgh and you're like, this guy is full of shit, I don't know what he's talking about, just go to a fucking laundromat on a Sunday afternoon and just hang out for a fucking minute. Or hit Walmart. I mean, it's increasing. And I got a lot of heat. I mean, years ago, I'm not even going to get down. Okay. The Pittsburgh Bureau of I want to get to the point. Hold on, let me do a time check here before I get all crazy. It's looking at my Gucci, it's about that time. As Pittsburgh Bureau of Police moved quickly and very publicly last week to reduce the number of officers on duty during certain overnight hours, the questions started. Council members, union officials, residents, and businesses wondered what drove this decision and what it will mean for city safety and for the police force. Larry Scrotero points directly to the numbers. He's like this is like Moneyball for cops. If he's a good cop, why isn't he a good cop? Significantly fewer major 911 calls, referred to as, quote, priority calls by the Bureau, come during the 3 a.m. to 7 a.m. time frame, which is when the number of officers on duty in Pittsburgh has been reduced, data provided to show Post-Gazette News. They even publish the hours. That's what I mean. It's like the fucking, it's like, I don't know, like every night is a little purge. We got a little purge every night. The numbers drove Chief Scrotum to reconsider how the department's resources are allocated, whether the decision is successful for the department and its officers, as well as the city and its residents, remain to be determined. The difference in overall staffing, the chief said, is really rather negligible. Average night, we'd have 7 officers out on the road in each zone. So we had like 42 officers. Generally, Chief Scratio Rioto told the Post-Gazette in an interview late last week, we cut 12. I think we cut 12 people. These are not the numbers I'm getting, but okay. Concerns, however, remained. City Councilwoman Teresa Calley Smith said the changes have a potential to become a recipe ripe for disaster. My community will not be happy, said Calley Smith, whose district includes much of the West End. They want to see how it's going to play out. Bob Schwarzenwelder, president of the union representing Pittsburgh police, said the idea of only a dozen or so officers were cut from the overnight shift is disingenuous. He claims that in terms of patrol officers, there are only 14 or 15 on duty between 3 a.m. and 7 a.m. They're running out of manpower very, very quickly, and they're getting very taxed, he said. Mr. Swartzwelder said that in terms of overall police numbers, including specialized units, there might be 25 to 30 working during that overnight time frame. But he said those specialized units are tied up doing specialized work. I think the strategy at this point is a hope and a prayer that they can base everyone on data, he said. It may pan out to be correct and it may be disastrous. So let's talk about, we have an ongoing shortage of officers. Pittsburgh police were dispatched to 50,811 so-called priority calls in 2023. Of those, 4,207 came between 3 and 7 a.m. The other 46,604 came during the other 20 hours. So to me, 4,207 priority calls in a year between 3 and 7 seems like a big deal. I mean, I guess you could wash out calls that in the end aren't priority calls, like it's reported kind of as one thing, and when you get there, it's kind of something that isn't such a big deal. I don't know. It still seems like a lot. The chief said about a third of patrol officers worked overnight when nearly 2/3 of the call volumes between 2 and 2. So we're running one shift ragged, under-resourcing it, and over-resourcing another, he said. That is why I thought this exercise was so important. Last year, only about 8% of the priority calls were dispatched between 3 and 7 a.m. He said the data the Bureau provided bears that out. Priority calls are considered incidents that are in progress, including shots fired, panic alarms, domestic violence, suicide threats, crashes with injuries, entrapment, robberies, and burglar alarms. In 2023, numbers showing 50,811 priority calls don't include lower level calls, the kind of that will be likely to be rerouted under a new structure. It's an answer machine. They got an answer machine. Mrs. Callie Smith said that her constituents are nervous about the changes. The West End, where they're talking about her constituents are, can be a pretty rough place. They got the Pulaski clubs up there, which include doing away with desk sergeants from 3 to 7 a.m. time frame. There are the officers who work the desks in the zone stations overnight. The chief said not many people have a need to come to one of the stations during those hours, maybe once or twice a year, he estimated. But it's your duty. Okay. They understand that there's a police shortage. Why? Why is there a police shortage? We'll get to it. Mrs. Callie Smith said of her community, but they will want to know what we're doing to increase those numbers. The Bureau's unemployment numbers sat at about 740 officers last week, down from the 835 who were working at the start of 2023, and even further down from the full complement of 900. The ongoing shortfall led city officials to lower the number of officers budgeted for 2024, 850 instead of the traditional 900. The city hasn't seen a full complement in years, and as resignations and retirement continue to far outpace new recruits. A class of about 24 recruits will graduate this week. Just under 200 are eligible to retire this year. 24 to 200. That's a ratio, bro. Miss Callie Smith said she, too, is nervous about and not just about the changes, advertising the strategy alerts not just the well-meaning citizens, but also the criminals. I think that might be the most important part of this whole article. David DeFazio, a defense attorney at the University of Pittsburgh professor, said somebody who's committing a deliberate crime might make a choice of when to commit that crime now. Yeah. That's the gist of it, David. Thank you. But he added, the passage of time and incoming data can help make modifications if needed. There will be exceptions, they say. Chief Scrodio, who was hired to lead the bureau last year, is also changing the types of calls his officers respond to. And he said the telephone reporting unit will answer calls like parking complaints. Okay, so if they're answering calls like parking complaints, who's answering them? Like, who's going to the calls? Lost cell phones and wallets. I'll tell you what, in this day and age, a lost cell phone is a big fucking deal. In, like, the last 200,000 years, a lost wallet is a big deal to somebody, to the person who lost it. And the crimes aren't actively happening. They're not. So what's the implication of that? If they're not actively happening, no one's investigating them. It's a difference between coming home to find that somebody stole your lawnmower and somebody's actively stealing your lawnmower from you, he said. So, I might be down with this. This is weird because I hate baseball, but I am a fan of Moneyball. I think it's the number cruncher in me, and I'm not very good at math, so maybe that has something to do with it. But if they had like a QRF, like in the middle of the city, a quick reaction force, if they had maybe not a SWAT team, maybe something a little bit more dialed down. But if they had like a squad of dudes that could just fill in the gaps when needed, if needed, pay them, I don't know, put them on call or something, whatever. I mean, and the cops go on call, like there has to be. So when you're on call in this QRF situation, you got a little weapons rack here, you got some vehicles lined up, you got your GPSs and your laptops for your cars. And if something crazy happens, you guys can be the quick reaction force. That might be a good idea. They might want to, hey, if you guys know Chief Administrator Scrotum, turn them on to this idea. What we are trying to do is not create the rules for exceptions, but there will be exceptions, the chief said. And when there are, we'll meet the needs of the community. Elizabeth Prittinger, director of the city's Citizen Police Review Board, told her board members last week the only time would tell if the changes were for the better. Well, thank you for that dazzling insight, Mrs. Prittingers. The problem is that the police are not initiating the calls. Those are people. What? She said that the people calling 911 and asking for some kind of help. So now that translates into an efficient and effective use of enforcement power, in contrast to the caretaking toll that the police have. What's going to take a while to determine? Chief Scrotum contends that these changes will mean officers will actually be more engaged in their community. I see cops. I'm not going to stir any shit. I'm sorry. I'm friends with some cops, so whatever. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to move on. I think we get the gist of this. A lot of people think this is going to be bullshit, and a lot of people think that this is going to be a really good idea. So I'm just going to take a little bit from this. Pittsburgh's police chief pushes back against criticisms of sweeping redeployment. March 19th, 2024. This is from CBS News, Pittsburgh. Dateline. Pittsburgh, KDKA. Since redeploying staff for the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police, Chief Larry Scorito has heard the allegations and denies them all. Sitting down for the first time since ordering the changes, the chief told KDKA TV that he his reorganization is enhancing public safety and the wellness of his officers. Since his swearing-in ceremony 10 months ago, this guy has been tasked with doing more with less. So he's employed data analytics. He's the Billy Bean of policing. Or he's the father of the purge. We've been talking about this since the day they hired me, he said. I don't just think people realize we'd actually execute it. The sweeping redeployment changes when officers work and how they work, now responding only to priority in progress emergency calls like shootings, robberies, and referring non-emergencies like harassment and theft to a phone reporting unit. I wonder what would happen if they saw that my car wasn't inspected right now. I get pulled over by one of these goddamn city cops. I'm going to be like, yo, bro. I don't know what I would say. I don't have anything funny lined up. I'm sorry. So despite a new class of grads, this is from the Post-Gazette, Pittsburgh police staffing woes mirror a national trend. The 24 new officers, we heard about these guys just an article or two ago, as shifts are made to staffing and structure, and the department struggles nationwide. This guy's got a big fucking head, man. I'm looking at these guys. They look like they're all white guys, and some of them are obviously chubby. I mean, they're cops, but pot kettle black. Oh, no, I'm not a cop. I'm a little chubby. They come to the bureau at a tumultuous time. Chief Larry has been at the helm of the department for less than a year. Fallout from the 2021 death of Jim Rogers after a violent arrest continues, and they join a force that is losing officers far faster than it recruits them. None of this has been lost on the graduates as they head into the 12 weeks of field training. I feel like they need more. I feel like there should be more training. Being a police officer is not just a job, the recruit class president Robert Redmond told his classmates at a graduation ceremony Wednesday night. It is a solemn responsibility. We must trample the rights of everyone we can find. So, my wife occasionally nowadays listens to the Pittsburgh police scanner. She has an app for it, so she can listen to it on her phone. And we were listening to it one time, and this cop gets on his net, and he's like, hey, a civilian just give me a passport that they found. So I have this passport. I'm going to go ahead and run it for warrants. That's a true story. Someone fucking did that. All right, so I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna take a brief interlude here. Oh yeah, brief interlude. Actually, I'm gonna take an interlude. All right, back from the interlude. Woo, woo. So, in July of 2021, a man, a rampant liar and plagiarist, Google search it, named Joe Biden, who happens to be the president of the United States currently. Put an asterisk next to that if you want. I have a feeling we're going to be revisiting that fact sometime in the future. If I had my feature topic link page up on the website, you would see that there would be a whole block of episodes specifically about Joe Biden. I can't remember the names of them. One of them is the Nietzschean time loop of Joe Biden. Anyhow, Joe Biden said this in July of 2021. You need to have weapons to take on the government. You need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons. So he was talking about his own citizens. He was talking about citizens of the United States of America. And he threatened to use fighter jets and maybe nuclear weapons against them. So I didn't play this clip because I'm missing my wire. If you've been keeping up with current events, I'm rusty from my multiple months off before getting started back again. So I need to track down some equipment apparently. I didn't play this clip, not only because I don't have a wire, but because I think a lot of people get mileage out of how weak he is. He sounds weak. So I just wanted to hit that with you. The actual words spoken by a normal fucking human being right now. You can put an asterisk next to that too if you want. You need to have weapons, man. Like when I fought Corn Pop, I had a piece of a chain. All right, you need to have weapons to take on the government. You need F-15s and maybe some nuclear weapons. So he said this during a White House speech to outline his plan to combat gun violence. In the same speech, he also falsely claimed that there has always been limits on the Second Amendment. The Second Amendment literally says there are no limits. It's right there at the beginning. Thou shalt make no laws. All right, so why are we transitioning from a shithole like Pittsburgh in its current state of being flushed down the toilet to what Joe Biden said in 2021 about how you have to have weapons to take on the government? Well, here it is. A giant budget just got passed, like over $1 trillion bucks. Just got passed on Saturday, and then this was released. This is reading right off of all fucking places. The Office of Public Affairs, the U.S. Department of Justice. The Justice Department launches a National Extreme Risk Protection Order Resource Center. Well, that's a mouthful, Dr. Towers. What is this? The Justice Department launches a National Extreme Risk Protection Order, or the ERPO, Resource Center, or the Center, which will provide training and technical assistance to law enforcement, prosecutors, attorneys, judges, clinicians, victim services, social service providers, community organizations, and behavioral health professionals responsible for implementing laws designed to keep guns out of the hands of people who pose a threat to themselves or others. Well, I mean, how do you want to get started? There's a lot here. I'll get started. I'll start and I'll end right here. Okay. I'm going to start and end right here. Law enforcement officials, prosecutors, attorneys, judges, clinicians, victim services, social service providers, community organizations, behavioral health professionals, don't implement laws. They don't write laws. They don't design laws. They don't implement them. I guess you could say that law enforcement officials implement laws. Like they carry them out. Or they don't, whatever. I'm not a bootlicker. So none of those people are legislators, Congress people, senators, state house people. None of those people actually write or implement, pass, sign. None of those people make laws. This is an official document. Okay, so all those people are now implementing laws designed to keep guns out of the hands of people who pose a threat to themselves or others. So like cartels, how many social service providers are visiting and reporting on cartels? I don't know. Is this going to also include like ATF members who harass citizens for knocking on doors and asking to see their weapons and their papers, please? Back to this. The launch of the National Extreme Risk Protection Order Resource Center will provide our partners across the country with valuable resources to keep firearms out of the hands of individuals who pose a threat to themselves and others, says Attorney General Merrick Garland. The establishment of the center is the latest example of the Justice Department's work to use every tool provided by the landmark Bipartisan Safer Communities Act to protect communities from gun violence. So they're going to be talking to like gang members and stuff. They're going to be reporting on like gang members, or does it sound more likely that they're going to be targeting, through the VA, veterans who have PTSD, veterans who are having mental health problems, or something like that? But remember, if you want to fight the government, you're going to need an F-15 and maybe some nuclear weapons. But since we got you right here, and since obviously you're plagued by wrongthink, you have so many like personal problems, you can't possibly make these determinations for yourself, I think that I should take all your guns away from you. And I'm sure there's people out there that are like, what's the big deal? It's just a gun. Well, I don't know. I don't see it your way. I see it a different way. I see it a different way where our cities, our homes are being invaded by homeless people. There's illegal immigrants, I guess, invading my laundromat and my Walmart. It might not be such a big deal because the police are not responding to calls anymore. It might not be such a big deal because, police are not responding to your calls anymore. I mean, yeah. So, there's that. I don't know why else. The police aren't responding to your calls anymore. If I had that wire to connect to do the min-max in, I would have queued up Welcome to the Terradome right there, where the last time I said the police aren't responding to your calls anymore. It would go, wait, welcome to the Terradome. Welcome to the Terradome. Stay tuned. Next time you hear my voice, we'll be talking about...
Are you interested in the occult?
Eclipses!
History, conspiracy, and violence? Learn more at Abracast.com and visit the storefront for tarot cards, merch, and books. Support the show. Get access to the show archive at subscribestar.com. Thank you for listening to this episode. Send an email or visit us on social media to let us know what you think about this topic. And please remember to leave a 5-star rate and review.
I'm just kidding. Don't find me on social media. Don't friend me on Instagram. That's about as far as you're going to get. Welcome to the Terradome.